Welcome to my garage, the garage of many stories. People carry things around in their cars for years to hope to run into me and give me stuff. A dentist here in Sonoma drove around with an egg beater in the trunk of his car for 2.5 years, waiting to see me and give it to me, which he finally did. It used to have a 1969 cherry red Mustang convertible in here and a Volvo. No more. It's kitchen stuff now. And my quirky obsession overtook everything. And people dump things on me. They know they don't want to give them to charity shops or consignment shops because they were their grandmother's precious everything. And so they bring them to my house because then they've given them someplace they think is good or they'll be treasured, which is how I got this really odd looking 30-pound juicer. It's a Champion juicer. I mean, gotta be Champion, right? So when some of these juicers were produced, citrus was smaller than it is now. Limes and lemons were smaller, and so you could put a portion or a whole or half of one in there and put this on, plug it in, out comes the juice. This is one of my favorite coffee pots. It's one exactly like what Julia Child had in one of her kitchens in France, and it works. I mean, look at this. How many of you remember this? A percolator, right? You put the coffee in here, pour water. It sits on the stove burner and makes coffee. This one happens to be a wherever. This is a very old kind of metal, heavy metal ice cream maker. And I bought it also at Face to Face. I kept buying things there, and especially going out there just to help the HIV/AIDS effort. These are two of my favorite butter churns in the world, and they're very different. This one has a wooden blade, and of course, one of the wooden blades broke. Not in my ownership, but I couldn't resist it anyway. And then this one is a much more conventional one, of which I have a few. This is one of my favorite waffle irons. It's a double waffle iron, not made in this form anymore, but it was given to me by Suzanne Brangham, who developed MacArthur Place and Ramekins Culinary School and Inn here in Sonoma. These are some of the cracker tins that have lived in the garage for decades, spawning more cracker tins that I bought all over the world. All of these tins really were created to preserve things. This one, salt in France. It's not a cracker tin or a biscuit tin, but it's beautiful. I mean, the artwork, it's all painted. I love it. This is American, Barnum's Animals. Remember animal crackers? 3 more French tins, including this one with a black woman on the cover. The Nestle chocolate milks. Very controversial at the time, saying it was racist to have brown skin showing a brown product. And Quaker yellow cornmeal. I love it. I love it. I'd never heard of it. That's why I bought it. And, but that meant a lot to somebody. You know, I can understand people's emotional connection to everything in their kitchen, whether they had the privilege of having meals with their families, cooking with them, making waffles in the morning, spaghetti sauce, grating cheese to go on the spaghetti, whatever. I have a whole lot of cheese graters where people scrape their knuckles. It's a whole story in itself.
You're an amazing writer, so you spend your life writing.
Yes.
And you're an incredible book writer and journalist and columnist and all of that. Why the kitchen, and why to your mother you wanted to actually connect with her within the kitchen? Was she a great chef? Do you have great memories with her?
Maybe it goes back to my grandmother, McKelligan, in Berkeley, where she would take care of me some afternoons. That was my mother's way of maybe getting rid of me for a little bit. And my grandmother would sit me down in her breakfast nook and give me a project of shelling peas. To me, that was a very honored position. I remember those really early years with my grandmother, and I actually have a hook on my kitchen wall where the delivery men put the receipts for the milk and cheese that they brought by her back door. I mean, golly. And my mother, in our kitchen, at that point it was in Lafayette, California. That's where everything happened also. A gas stove, my father did some cooking. I have my memories of his favorite things to make, cinnamon toast. Actually, in my kitchen memories book, there's a recipe for his cinnamon toast. But it was also where my mother brought my friends together to play classical music.
Huh.
And then we'd go out on a veranda outside and continue there and discuss the composer and the conductor. And my kids came back home from school and threw their backpacks on the floor by the cookbook shelves, which later became the home of lots of cracker tins. The kitchen is hopefully where families gather. It's just the center of our home. And was it of yours?
Oh, absolutely the same.
Yeah.
You know, you come from school, as you said, you put the backpack on the floor and you have a chocolate milk or a piece of cheese. In my case, of course, Frenchman. The little baguette and, you know, salted butter, hopefully from the right area of France. And then that's where you debrief, that's where you exchange, that's where you converse. And that's where you feel comfortable and safe.
Every piece reminds me of a memory of people I was with when I found them. That dentist who carried the egg beater around in the trunk of his car for 2.5 years to give it to me. The retired nurse who gave me a box of chipped bowls that had belonged to her mother. The friend who drove things across the country from Kansas in her Range Rover to give me things. And all the things I found myself throughout Europe. And I bought my little, like, maybe 60 chocolate molds at one place. The objects all remind me of the memories. So I will look forward to visiting Rutherford often. So the reason I lean on the kitchen counter and I lean on the baker's table and I lean on people and shelves and tables is that I had polio as a child. And there is something called post-polio syndrome, which I have, which is a deterioration of the nerves your body generates after they're destroyed, as they are in polio. And I advocate also helping people who've had polio who are ostracized in other countries because of their shapes and inabilities. I'm very capable compared to most people. I can do anything, I just have to do it differently.
So tell us about those amazing, items that you've collected, and why, from the moment you brought back to your mom those 6 to 8 items as a gift, and then you got them back, why did you decide to pursue on this unbelievable adventure and journey to collect one of the biggest collections in the world?
I think because it became an adventure. It's always, for me, fun to have a purpose to travel.
Yes.
I mean, besides just having fun and great food and great wine, but something to look for.
Yes.
And something you love. And the hunt is often the game. And
but why the kitchen? Why, collecting toasters, collecting mashed potato?
I have no explanation except it is my quirky obsession. It's what it is. And I just got more and more interested in the cultural aspects.
That's right.
Of every country things came from. I think I have cracker and biscuit tins from almost 15 countries. And many of them I got in those countries. So it's always fun to have something to look for. And I've traveled with lots of friends shopping antiques. And I was always the one over in the corner scooping up the chocolate molds.
And what does it evoke to you? All that?
All the cultural, the family lives of the people who'd had them before, the inventors.
Yes.
For instance, one of the things in the collection is the first ice cream scoop. So this is the second ice cream scoop ever made in America, created by African-American inventor Alfred Kroll in 1898. He had been a server in a hotel in Philadelphia who found that it was really difficult to serve ice cream and have it land in the dish. And it made a big mess. And so he decided to make this thing, and I'm not sure how this improved the situation, except maybe he heated it and then plopped it in. It's one of my favorites. The first one is also in the collection already with a whole box of ice cream scoops at the Boisset warehouse. Then we have a lot of cheese graters as well here, and one of my favorites is this one, which ostensibly was made in England from a shower drain. And I can't imagine that being very pleasant. This is another of my favorite cheese graters, but it's made in England in the 1800s, and it's supposed to fold together as a triangle like this, but it doesn't work. And this is a treasure from England that is a bottle warmer. You put this on the fire to heat up a baby bottle. It was given to me by an African-American antique dealer. I love it. I've been fascinated with food and politics. And I had never taken a political science class in the United States, but I ended up teaching politics, American politics and government, with my husband at the University of British Columbia. Then we also wrote 4 law dictionaries together and 3 political dictionaries, which emanated from my thesis for my master's degree in political psychology, which I got in the 90s. And so it all kind of meshed together. It's amazing. We now have specialists like Marion Nessel, who's an expert in food politics, and Clark Wolf, who lives in Guerneville, who co-founded a food department at NYU with Marion Nessel. Food politics are tremendous. I once asked one of our literary agents if I should make a choice between politics and writing travel and food. And her response was, after a few days, she called and said, no, that's what makes you interesting, is to have both. And I'm not so sure it does, but it's my life. Anyway, I would love for people to just feel warm and an adventure with the mobiles, which people don't normally see flour sifters as mobiles, or cheese graters, and menus hanging, and you can touch stuff. You can touch everything. It all works. And think about what they might do at home with some of the things available in their families.
How would you like people to take that away into their homes?
By sampling a little bit. Recipes used to be just a paragraph, not 32 ingredients that nobody has.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
So you want to as well engage people into the art of cooking in a simple way, I assume.
Absolutely, why not? I mean, appreciate the past and the cooking of the past in their families, in somebody else's family, and try to recreate things. Why not?
In your case, tell us about that in the kitchen. Because that's pretty amazing what you've assembled over thousands
Yes.
of things.
I used to tell my husband, I don't buy makeup, I buy kitchen utensils.
So as we look back, people are going to walk around this amazing journey, adventure, as you said, to really look at kitchen memories. They're going to have a glass of wine, they're going to have little bites. As they go home and as they talk to their friends the next day, what would you like them to say?
Maybe that thing in my mother's drawer could be useful. You know, I hope people would get inspired to collect, inspired to learn, taste, the whole sensual experience. How about you? What do you think?
Well, I'm with you. I believe a kitchen has a true cultural essence and emotion and personality if it is transmitted from one object, from one generation to the other. So my mother, as an example, has drawers of what was belonging to my great-grandmother, grandmother, and her. And when you see her cooking, she uses it all. They each have a purpose. It could be an emotional purpose. It could be a real purpose. It could be an advanced purpose. But each of them play a role in her mind. And as she touches that object, she feels she's back in time with that recipe as well. I think they give you the energy that is from the past. And you know, there's a tradition in France where you give to your children the wood spoon, or you give your children certain objects of your kitchen when they get married, because you're part of the family, you're part of the recipe book, and I'm giving you objects that I've used, that my parents and grandparents have used. And I think the kitchen is where the biggest memories are made. And I think what you've built, you know, finally is exceptional, because it's going to help people being centered to what is important. What is important is family. What is important is friends. What is important in life is to share. It's not just to accumulate all of this for you. And I really want to thank you, Kathleen, for allowing us to share it to the world. Thank you. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you for visiting us. Where's my glass of wine? Thank you.
The studio of Kitchen Memories in Rutherford, Napa Valley. This is where you want to take your family and friends. You're going to be welcomed with one of the most breathtaking, outstanding, and exceptional memory of collectible from your kitchen. This is where you're going to get inspired, you're going to dream and reimagine times at the kitchen table, in the kitchen with your grandparents and parents. A warm fire, an amazing place, great wine. This is where you're going to want to host an event, a wine tasting, a fabulous dinners, a great gathering in the heart of Napa Valley, Rutherford. Come and visit at the studio of Kitchen Memory. The place is yours.